from this space to AI-led automation space. Maybe we call it hyper automation or intelligent automation.
And that's how I got introduced to the RPA world.
At your stint with VMware, what were the challenges did you face?
So try to become a solution provider rather than, a developer.
So was that not a concern that moving to a low code or no code?
And that's where I started off with Automation Anywhere and a few other tools.
We are into RPA but we want to move into AI. What is the?
I traveled Canada recently. So
if you're not going to promote yourself, then who would? Hi all, welcome to another exciting podcast on RPA Feeds channel. Today I have with me Aarti Morye. Aarti has started her career like any other techie would do, like a software analyst, and then she moved up to the ladder to managing positions, delivering solutions, and taking care of the entire delivery, end-to-end delivery. In her past organization, she was associated with VMware and was leading intelligent automation division. And now she's associated with ZasmLabs, one of the startups. She's a practice lead for their AI division. Aarti, welcome to the podcast. I hope you are doing well.
Thank you, Dipendra. Yes, thank you for having me here. Very excited to join this podcast. And thank you for that introduction. It covers pretty much what I've been doing. So like you said, I started off as a software engineer and then worked my way through leading the program management team and then into trainings, freelancing. Eventually landed into the automation and AI space. That's pretty much it.
Super. Excited to discuss on a lot of various other topics regarding RPA, automation, intelligent automations, and we'll discuss on a lot of other exciting stuff from a career transition perspective as well. So how you started into RPA and automation space?
Sure. So like I said, I started off as a software engineer. I worked pretty much into the Microsoft stack, ASP.NET and SQL and stuff like that. I was mostly into web development and that's how I was continuing on my career. Eventually, at some point, I moved into a lead role where I was leading a mobilization practice, which is basically taking over accounts from, outsourcing accounts which need to, transition a few processes from different groups back to our company. And what I noticed there that it was a very process intensive job and our PMO teams had to do a lot of manual work, setting up resources, setting up processes. And being from a tech background, I thought, okay, all of these processes seem to be very repetitive, very volume intensive. Why not use some automation and, reduce their workload? That is how I got into automation. At that point, it was mostly process automation, SharePoint workflows, VBA macros and stuff, our age-old traditional automation. But that was also the time when RPA was coming into picture, like RPA organizations were getting set up. It was very new at that point and we thought, let's give it a try. And that's how I got introduced to the RPA world. And that's where I started off with Automation Anywhere and a few other tools at that point of time. In fact, I also worked on some internal tools which were very UI automation focused, very unstable at that point. I think RPA has evolved quite a lot since then. So yeah, that's how I transitioned from a traditional software development role to leading RPA teams and through intelligent automation now into AI landscape.
So while you started into automation and RPA space from a full stack development or a .NET development, so was that not a concern that moving to a low code or no code, like will there be a value add or I'll be able to grow into this career or not? So that's the question most of the developers who want to transition, they have these kind of questions. So what was your thought?
Yeah, that's a very, very valid question, I would say. And for me, it wasn't a concern because I was already leading a team at that point. And the whole objective of bringing in RPA was to automate processes. So it could be using a low-code solution. Like I said, I was already using VBA macros, so our traditional automation. So it wasn't a concern for me personally, but definitely I have seen developers, programmers having this concern, right? That it might not, go well with my career if I transition to a low-code platform. I would say, so the whole RPA concept was introduced to the world as a low-code platform, saying that anybody can automate and you don't need programming knowledge and things like that. Which over the period of time, we all have understood that that's not the case, right?
That's not true.
There are some parts, that's absolutely not the case. There are some parts which are dedicated to citizen development, wherein you have, more simplified version of RPA for smaller tasks, desktop automations, smaller automations, which is fine. But when we come to enterprise level automations, that definitely needs a very strong programming acumen. You need to understand all of the programming paradigms, are required to develop an enterprise grade solution. So I think that should not be a concern for anybody who is aspiring to work on a enterprise level, process of automation. What the developers getting into this transition, what they should keep in mind is always have that programming mindset always there at the back of your mind. Whatever programming concepts you have been learning and implementing throughout your career, follow the same. For example, the principles of modularization, your security, your data protection, your parameterization, everything applies the same. There is no change. So it should not bother you if it's a no code, because somewhere we know that behind those particular activities there is a program that is written. If you know it well, then it only simplifies your work. There is no change, I would say, as such.
I think same was the case when Microsoft we used to work on VB.NET or ASP.NET. There are also drag and
Absolutely.
drop activities. You don't have to bother about too much
Exactly.
about what is behind that activity. That's for your simplicity they have
Right.
provided. Let's use it.
Exactly. That's right.
Cool. Awesome. At your stint with VMware, what were the challenges did you face? You were working on establishing the COE, setting up the automation team. So what were the challenges did you face and how did you overcome?
Right. So my stint at VMware was, it was a very fulfilling journey first and foremost, because we were just getting started off with setting up the RPA COE. So it all started off right from hiring a new talent to setting up processes on how RPA should work, establishing that connect with the business stakeholders, all of the life cycle of setting up an RPA COE. And I think the biggest challenge was, again, going back to my previous comment, that RPA was introduced to business stakeholders as if it's a no programming language or a platform. And that is where we encountered little bit of a setback, because the COE started off with business users implementing complex processes. So two things went a little bit wrong there. Is first, assuming that RPA is a no code platform. It is a low code, but it's you cannot expect a non-programmer to right away start with it. And then we took up a really complex use case to start with, which was, again, I think, something that could have done better. So we took a step back, and then we identified a little simpler processes to start automation with. We brought in our RPA developers to start off those processes, and then we focused on setting up processes, how business users and development team will coordinate with each other. We brought in a strong set of business analysts who play a very critical role bridging that gap between the business and technical team. And then we started off slow. So first year we implemented some 7 to 8 processes, and then focused on getting those working and then getting feedback from business users. And then slowly over the years we, started scaling. And I'm very, very, proud to say that by the end of fifth year, we had more than 400 processes working successfully day in, day out at VMware. So it has
That's
been a
great.
very, very, fulfilling journey. Lot of learnings, but
Superb, superb. Thanks for sharing that. From your RPA automation and then working in a AI practice, like heading the AI practice, what has been your transition journey from RPA intelligent automation space? How you moved to a AI space?
sure. So, like I said, like my career has been always been a natural transition, right? So I started off with traditional development, got into RPA. What I have always focused on is to learn, keep learning new things, and that is how, while working on RPA, I discovered there are better ways. So, like I said earlier, it was very UI focused automation, and eventually it got into more robust, where you have integrations with different APIs and everything, which made our process automations more stable. And then came the era of intelligent automation, wherein you could have some things that could be over and above your rule based, judgment based automations came into picture. So while doing that, we started looking at use cases which go a little beyond just formulas, right? So our traditional plain vanilla RPA was if then else kind of automations, wherein you have very structured rules. And then we started looking at use cases where, okay, there is document processing. Can we try to get some insights out of those documents, and how can we leverage RPA after we get those insights, things like that. So what I really focused on is keeping an eye on what is coming new into the RPA landscape, and then having that thought in mind where you can implement those newest features available to the requirements of the business. So as an example, I can say at VMware, we worked a lot with the deal management team, and they work a lot with contracts, which are a lot of documents to process day in, day out. That is where, the moment of intelligent document processing came into picture, we were amongst the very first few COEs to, take up that feature and experiment on it, build POCs on it. and see how it can take our RPA game a notch higher. So that is how like me and along with my team we kept growing and getting more and more closer towards the AI space. And now I think with the advent of AI and Gen AI, I think the RPA landscape and the AI landscape can work so well together that it's going to be a game changer for many processes in different organizations.
True, that's true. And so there is no like A, B, C. If you are an RPA developer or if you are into RPA space, there's no defined path like you have to go from A, B, C, and you land up in a AI zone. No, that's not the way, right? You have to keep on learning or anything you have, because I keep on getting this lot of queries around this topic. We are into RPA and but we want to move into AI. What is the
Right.
path?
That's, yeah, even I get those questions a lot. And many people look at it in a way that if you are in the RPA space, your next logical transition is AI, which is not completely true. I think AI is a separate um, technology stack to work on. RPA is a separate technology stack. It is a very, it is not a rule that now I have worked on RPA for 5 years. Now, if I don't get into AI, that's the end of it. It's not like that. What I would say is look for opportunities where you can leverage both, and those both of these technologies can complement each other, right? So, for example, if you're, let's say, working on an AI chatbot kind of a stuff which interacts with customers, does give out some information, you can use RPA to augment that solution with some stuff that can go in the background. For example, sending updates, sending a report to somebody, updating some application. It doesn't need AI, which can be accomplished using RPA. So I would say that use your knowledge of RPA, because what I've noticed is when you are into the RPA space, you gain a lot of knowledge related to processes, because you need to understand the process very much in detail to be able to automate it. So use that
Yeah.
knowledge so that you can, enhance the solutions that you are providing to your customers. So I would say to answer your question, there is no ABC as such, but you keep building on your knowledge of RPA, and then you can use both the technologies wherever it is.
Got it. Thanks for sharing your insights, Aarti. Now, since you're working on to this heading AI practice at ZasmLab, so I would like to know your thoughts on responsible and ethical AI.
Right. And I'm really glad you asked this question, because I think this is the most important question that should be on at the top of your mind of any person who is leading an AI practice. In fact, I would say not even leading, anybody who is working on any AI solution should have this thought in their mind. What we usually see is responsible or ethical AI is thought of at the end, but I would say it should never be an afterthought. I would say you should start with responsible AI as your stepping stone, and then you should build your solution over it. In fact, this term responsible AI and ethical AI, like it gained a lot of importance after the AI came into picture. But hasn't it been the cornerstone of every solution that we have ever developed as software engineers? For example, I just remembered one automation that I was working on in some organization, and I was new. And I just got into a call and I saw that somebody was trying to automate a CAPTCHA. And it was a very simple CAPTCHA term. And the developer was very excited because he was able to do it using OCR. The business was very excited because they thought that, oh, CAPTCHA is automated now, we don't need to do anything. The solution was working, but it wasn't responsible, right? The whole point of CAPTCHA was getting overridden due to that automation. So that thought process has to be there with everyone who is working on a automation or AI solution. So what we do at ZasmLabs is, first and foremost, we have trained all of our team members on responsible AI. There is no formal certification that we have found until now, but we have asked our team members to take all the trainings that are available on Microsoft, on Google sites with respect to responsible AI. Our leaders are part of the Responsible AI Institute. We are in the process of getting our organization enrolled as well. While developing our solutions, we keep in mind that we have those guardrails in place, and then ensure that we implement explainable AI into all of our solutions. So there is a lot of focus. In fact, one of our POCs that we developed was on, this was a very interesting POC, and I can give you a link to have a look. So it was about evaluating your AI applications on responsible AI guidelines. So this was much before the EUA released. However, the AI Act will keep evolving over the period of time, and all I could say is we have to always be up to date with those laws and ensure that the solutions that we build are responsible and ethical in nature. So yeah, definitely a lot of focus out there, but it's a joint responsibility of not just the leaders, but also our developers, our business, stakeholders. It is something that all of us have to keep an eye on, and it's a collective responsibility.
Thanks, Aarti, for sharing your insights on responsible AI part. Now, I just have a very tricky question for you, which is like, if you get a chance to go back in time, what would you have done differently in your career?
Okay. Yeah, that is a tricky question. So if I look back at my career trajectory, things have fallen in place on its own. Like I didn't really have to, really have to switch careers or do things. But if I really have to change anything, I don't think I would change anything in my career as such. What I would really change is how I learned things back in college, because what I understand now is all of the concepts that we learned in college at that point of time were very examination focused. The objective at that point of time used to be clear exams, get good grades and things like that. So against that, what I see now is if you get a chance to focus on the foundations and then build upon it, would help you a lot going ahead in your career. So yeah, I think I would have learned a little differently, but that's pretty much career wise. I think thankfully I've been doing okay.
Good. The point which you raise, learning things in a different way. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think a lot of people nowadays are doing it. They're not just relying on their academics. Outside of academics, they are doing a lot of stuff.
Absolutely. In fact, I would really like to call out this that when I see interns or new hires today, they are much more aware. Like you said, they make a lot of use of the content that is available to them. They are not confined to what is taught academically. They work on a lot of experimental projects, which is a very, very good change that I see with new hires these days. So definitely, I think that's a good thing that I see.
Yeah, awesome. Moving on to a few of the personal questions. Okay, so any place that you have traveled recently, or any favorite holiday destination?
I traveled Canada recently, so I visited my brother. He is in Toronto, and it's a beautiful country, especially in summers to visit, and I had a really good time there. However, my favorite destination has always been Paris. I've been there twice, but definitely it's a beautiful city to visit, and yeah, I love going there.
Superb, superb. Do you have pet?
Yeah, I have a dog. It's a golden retriever. His name is Shiro,
Okay.
and yeah, he's huge part of my unwinding of my day.
What did you say? His name is
Big fan of
Shiro.
pets. Shiro. Shiro. It's a Japanese name.
Yeah, I have heard that in Shinchan. So,
Yes, you got that right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's where it came from.
Awesome. So,
Yeah.
where people can catch you outside of your office hours, like what exactly you do apart from your day job?
So yeah, I try to consciously do 2 3 things. So whenever I get time, I make it a point to catch up with my friends. I do make it a point to reach out to my friends from from earlier organizations, from my college, everywhere. And I know it's very difficult when you are working on a big job and while managing family, but I would definitely recommend meeting. There is nothing like meeting old friends. It helps you rejuvenate a lot, and you can come back and work even better. And apart from that, I'm conscious about physical wellness as well. So I do hit the gym. These days it hasn't been very regular, but I'm conscious about it. So I try to make time to do some physical activity throughout the week. Yeah,
Very
if
much
you
needed in today's modern
want to catch up with me,
lifestyle.
you can. Absolutely, absolutely. And with so much focus on mental health, that there should be some activity which helps you unwind, which helps you relax, and put yourself together outside your home. So
Yeah. Probably one last question in this segment. So, if not an automation leader, what alternate career path would you have chosen?
So, automation happened for me, like I said. So, that was because I was into processes and I saw that it needed a lot of automation. That's how I got into the automation space. But I think as a personality, I think my strength is to understand what certain team is saying and then translate it to the technical team. And that is where I see my strength, and that has also helped me in the automation space as well. So I think I would always be in that space wherein you need somebody to connect business to
Mhm.
technology.
Mhm.
If let's say technology was not into picture at all, if I was not in a techie at all, then I would always try to find a space where I could talk to people, understand what they are trying to say, and then translate it to somebody who build different solutions for them. So I think people is my strength. I think communication is my strength, and I would probably find some work or some role that would help use those skills.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. I see that you have been active participant of hackathons throughout your career. Like how this helped you and what was your winning mantra, if you like to share?
Definitely. This question is very close to my heart, and whenever I talk to anybody in automation, this topic comes up. Mostly because of the fact that me, along with my amazing team, have won 5 hackathons until now. So, yeah, the way it started was when we were new team in VMware, there was this hackathon that was organized by UI Path. And we just as a chance we participated in it and we won it. We weren't first, but we won it, and then that is how we got hooked to the hackathon stuff. But what I have realized throughout the years of participating in winning hackathons is at the face, hackathon looks like a competition, right? Where you go and you build stuff and you either win or lose. But it goes a lot beyond that. What I've noticed that if there is a new feature, there is a new technology, if you can learn it, the fastest way to learn it is through hackathons. Like for example, when document processing came into picture, a action center and all that came. Our team was like, "Yeah, but you never find time from your regular stuff to go and learn new stuff. But when it is a hackathon and you want to build it in 2 days, then something goes inside your body and you just learn it in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it's the fastest way to learn any new technology. It's the short way of learning it right, because you will not just learn it through videos, you'll implement it. And there is no better way of learning anything than implementing it in a solution, right?
Correct.
So that has been a very important thing. Other things that you do not see in a hackathon is you build a lot of other things. You build the skill, the muscle of developing good ideas, because hackathons usually, you want to win a hackathon when your idea is unique, when your idea is, something that is implementable. So in all of our hackathons, we implemented a lot of design thinking, brainstorming techniques. We spent days to just come up with an idea. So, and that is where all of our team realized that, it should not be you have a technology and then you find a problem to solve it with that technology, right? It's the most wrong way to implement a technology. You look for a problem and then you look for, what kind of technology you can implement to solve that solution. And then that is how we along with RPA, we have added a lot of stuff in those hackathons. It was IoT at some point, it was video integration, it was AI, many things that we have implemented as a part of. And the last thing that I cannot, emphasize more is there is a lot of team building that happens during hackathons, because a team is working relentlessly for 2 days, not sleeping, not eating, focused on a solution. They're helping each other out. The kind of team building that happens, the bond that you build through hackathons is like it lasts for a long time. You start trusting your team, you start helping your team out, and you build a lot of community outside your team as well. So you interact with other people who are participating. So that apart from just participating and winning or losing, there is a lot more that goes on in hackathons. I would really encourage everybody who is watching or anybody who is in the RPA space, go participate in hackathons, have fun, learn a lot.
And get some goodies as well.
Yeah, of course.
So, guys, what are you waiting on? This should be more than enough for you to motivate from Aarti's experience. And please participate on these kind of hackathons and challenges and try to implement the skills and learn. So, Aarti, as a woman leader in tech, what advice you want to give to upcoming women leaders that may help them breaking the glass?
Very important question again, Deependra. Throughout my experience, right, in technology, what I have seen is um, women, girls in general, what I've seen is they are a little cautious. So when I see a girl applying for a job in comparison to a guy, they are a little cautious looking at the job description. If there are like 10 things mentioned, they would say, okay, I don't know the last two, so maybe I'll not apply. There is a lot of, apprehension in that way. There is a lot of self-rejection in that way. And I think that goes back to a lot of, there are many studies that show how girls are raised versus boys are raised, and all of that is changing right now, but it has been there. What I would say to all the girls is that, don't self reject yourself, first things first, right? I have seen so many women in technology who are really, really good, but in the quest of being, the best, they mostly tend to self reject themselves. So go ahead and, put yourself out there and then see if you are not able to do something, there will be help always available. And secondly, there is a lot of women network available today, and I myself take a lot of effort to be a part of all of those networks so that I can, wherever possible, I can inspire other aspiring women in tech. Let them know what works, what doesn't work out of experience, and networking definitely helps when you hear from experience of others, when you see that they have failed also, they have gone through these problems as well, and
Mhm.
it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
That is where you can gain that inspiration and keep going, especially to women who are in the mid career level, wherein they have to juggle their work life with their personal life. Kids are young. That is where I have seen a lot of women drop out because they get overwhelmed, sometimes also guilty of managing both of the things. The best advice I could say is, network, delegate, prioritize, and talk to other women leaders who are around, whoever you have access to. And I'm sure you will find ways to manage your work and life efficiently. I
Yeah, I
think
think that's a
talking to
very
other
good.
women leaders is the key.
Yeah, that's a very good advice, and thanks for leading this initiative also, Aarti. And I would say, like, rather give yourself a chance and don't self-reject. At least apply, at least go there, or at least face it, but don't
Absolutely.
reject yourself at the first place.
Absolutely.
Superb. If you were to invest in self-promotion or branding, what are the ways you do, or what are the ways you would advise the audience?
Right. So honestly, I would say like many people have this, it is got to do with your personality as well. Some people say, oh, I'm an introvert. I really don't like to talk to people. I can't face the camera. I don't want to post a lot, which is okay. Like you don't need to change your personality as such. But I would say sales is an important part of your own brand building. If you're working in a corporate, if you're working in your professional life, you have to sell yourself, your personality, your skill set, as much as you would sell your, product. For example, let's say if you are a founder of a company, you would do anything and everything to let the world know how good your product is, right? And you will try to, take up all of the platforms available to promote your product. So why not do it for yourself, right? And many people tend to think, oh, I work really well, I'm really good at this, and if I just sit and do my work, people should know. That's not the case in today's world, right? Wherein people are connected through so many social platforms. You have all of those platforms available. And if you believe that, you are amazing at something, there is no harm in putting that across. Like put your profile across, put your strengths across, and let people know what you're good at. That's how they are going to discover you. That's how you're going to get connected with like-minded people, with like-minded businesses, and look at it as, as you would promote your product, your service. Look at yourself as a brand, build it, promote it, and then, that's how you will be able to leverage it to the fullest. You don't want your skill, you don't want your expertise to be limited to yourself, right? So I would say self promotion, self brand building, there is nothing wrong with it. In fact, you should be doing it. I'm all for it. So go ahead, leverage all those platforms, and let people know how amazing you are.
Somehow I remember one quote. I'm not sure it's from whom, but if you're not going to promote yourself, then who would? Right? It has to start with you yourself.
Absolutely. Exactly.
I very well believe in that, and I do it. Earlier, I had a fear of being sharing my content. Maybe I was thinking,
Judge.
overthinking a lot, but then I somehow
Yeah.
started, and yeah, I mean, it's going well for me at the moment.
That's great. That's great. And I see that people, have this fear of being judged. Like they feel, oh, I post too much, then people are going to judge. And if they post something wrong, then I'm going to get judged. Big deal. I mean, it's okay. You're a human. You can post something wrong. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Moving towards the end of this podcast, Aarti, I would like to hear some advice that you can share from your experience to the professionals working into RPA and automation space. And also for those who want to transition their career from this space to AI-led automation space. Maybe we call it hyper automation or intelligent automation.
so I have two, three words in your question, right, Dipendra? One is a career transition, automation, hyper automation, AI-led automation. There is process excellence. There is, BPM. There is design thinking. According to me, I think that is the beauty of being in the RPA space. First and foremost, when you're out automating processes, like I said earlier, you need to understand the process, right? Because you're looking at that process at every click level. What happens when you click this? What happens when you click that? What happens when the user logs out in between, right? So because of that, you start becoming an expert in that process. And in that process, you also try to standardize that process quite a lot. And there comes the BPM and process excellence angle that, any processes that hasn't been standardized is not a good candidate for automation. So you give your expertise in that area as well. So you become little bit better in your process standardization and BPM side as well. And then design thinking comes in, wherein you take a step back and you see if, okay, is automation even a good solution here, or should it be just standardization and you leave it at that?
Yeah.
Or is it, this is not an RPA use case, let's go for something else. So that design thinking, that brainstorming happens. So I personally believe that is the beauty of being in RPA space, that you get a flavor of everything while working on it. So my advice to RPA professionals would be, keep your mind open. Just don't focus on you get a BRD and then you start writing your automation workflow, click here, click that, and my exception handling, and then I'm done. If you keep that mindset, you will not be able to grow. While you are automating processes, try to understand, hey, how does this process work? How was it earlier? How do you see it in 2 years? What are the other upstream and downstream processes in this automation? And how can I make it end to end? And then from a technical perspective, try to see, evaluate 2 3 different solutions. Like, okay, what if I don't do it this way? What if I keep this process offline and then invoke it whenever required? 2 3 different options or approaches to solving a certain solution. So try to become a solution provider rather than a developer. Even if you are a junior developer, if you start today, 3 years 4 years down the line, you will develop that mindset of looking into the big picture, looking into processes. And once you develop that muscle, you will not be an RPA developer. You will be a solution provider, and then the technology wouldn't matter, right? It could be RPA today, it could be AI tomorrow, it could be something else after 10 years. And then you will not have this fear of, okay, now RPA is dead, now what do I do? Now, yeah, I want to go into AI. And what is the transition path? That fear is not going to be there, because now you are a technologist who knows how to provide solutions which are best for your business use. So advice I would give is, get out of your developer mindset. I know that is your primary responsibility. So you need to be an expert in the development area. So have deep knowledge in your development field, but have a broad knowledge of the process field, have a broad knowledge of BPM. And then, that is going to help as you grow and start, taking on more broader roles.
That's a very good point, Aarti, and thanks for sharing that. So, yeah, and we are towards the end, and thanks for joining me for this podcast. And how was your experience on this podcast?
Lovely. I mean, I have seen your podcast earlier, Deependra, and I've seen a lot of people share very important insights, especially in the RPA domain. When you approach regarding this, I thought this is going to be a good discussion. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you, and we can connect again also later on different topics. And definitely, if someone wants to reach out to me on any of those questions, maybe I would have answered or would not have answered on this podcast, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and we can reach out on this. So definitely a great experience, Deependra. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you
It
so
helps
much.
the community a lot. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Aarti. And I'll mention your LinkedIn handle so that people can reach out to you if they have more queries around these questions or maybe anything apart from these. So definitely they can reach out to you. And thanks for joining me. Thanks for your time.
Right.
Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you. Have a great day.